Welcome to the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT, the show built for professional truck drivers, bringing you the latest insights, hot jobs, and tips to keep you moving forward. Powered by Mesilla Valley Transportation, the leaders in safety, fuel efficiency, and innovation, with over 1,600 trucks on the road. Let's hit the road together. This is the Rig on Wheels show featuring MVT.
Hey everybody, what if I told you all the 18-wheelers just made a commercial delivery with no driver in the cab, nobody behind the wheel, nobody riding shotgun. It's not the future, like it literally is happening in Texas, right down I-45, like the main highway in Texas. Well, as you all know, I am Kameel. I am your host and the owner of the Rig on Wheels show, the #1 truck driving recruitment show. And we have Pierson. He is the VP of recruitment over there at Mesilla Valley. Where you at today, Pierson?
I am sitting in the Admirals Club here in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Oh, that sounds fancy. Well, I'm not. I'm in a conference room.
No, I'm in it, so it's not that fancy.
About the commercial delivery driving trucks, autonomous trucks. We're also going to be talking about diesel price, like good stuff. But basically, industry news, hot jobs, all of that good stuff. But you all know this is the platform that brings you everything about trucking that's heard, seen, and wants you to understand. So let's jump right into it. Do you want to talk about some freight stuff first?
Yeah, let's talk freight. If you look at it right now, if we look at the week of April 28th through May 4th, freight's down 2.6% versus April 21st to April 27th. It's up 3% if you look month over month. But for the year, April 25 versus April 24, it's up 17%. Dry van sitting at $1.92, flatbed sitting at $2.55, reefer sitting at $2.27. The big thing here that I think is the point of all this is capacity loosened after the initial end-of-month push by shippers. Demand picked up in Miami ahead of Mother's Day for flower shipments, but produce season volumes have otherwise been muted so far this year, and it gets into tariffs. If you look at the freight coming off the West Coast, it's low, which is somewhat muting the volume that you'd normally get from produce season. Freight overall has held pretty steady along the U.S.-Mexican border out of Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, El Paso, Nogales. So haven't seen much there outside of the holiday that recently took place. But yeah, freight is soft on the West Coast, and it's having a ripple effect.
Okay, so I'll jump into diesel and gas. And guys, just to remind you, Pierson and I know that everybody DOT is not just diesel. We mainly deal with diesel, but there are some gas folks. So as of yesterday, May 5th, the national average for the retail diesel in the United States was $3.50, and the gas was $3.16. So that it really wasn't a huge increase or anything crazy. I know that there's a lot of, we don't know what's going on with the tariffs. We still won't know for a while, but it kind of is what it is right now. I hate that saying, but it literally is what it is right now. We need to just kind of stand by and wait a couple of weeks. But really the elephant in the room that I wanted to talk about, basically because Pierson and I are both driver centric folk, is the fact that Aurora Innovation launched its first actual driverless truck. Like they actually did a delivery. They've been doing a lot of beta, but they actually did a delivery via Uber Freight and Hirschbach. And that was, I believe, in April. I can actually look it up because I got it right here. So the end of April of 2025. So just the last week or whatever. But it was going down the quarter of 45. So there were literally no humans on board, nobody in the cab or anything like that. And it was temperature. So it was a reefer freight. It did happen successfully. A lot of the beta has been done in Phoenix or down through the 45 corridor, but they want to expand the route by the end of 25. Now, what the argument is this is real help with driver shortage. However, it won't be for another 5 to 10 years. So it won't be immediate. So it's not going to help our driver shortage yesterday or tomorrow. Which one?
Yeah, I don't see it fixing a driver shortage. I think I see it creating more driving jobs. I think this is applicable on wide stretches of highway. If you're taking stuff along I-80 from Chicago to Portland, Oregon, I think this is going to be a really helpful tool. But you either A, have to have two drivers on either end to finish ultimately the load. And when you get into traffic, B, at some point there will be an accident, so the progress will get delayed. It's somewhat inevitable. There will be some catastrophic thing that happens with any new technology. It happened with the advent of cars. It happened with trains. It generally does. The second part of this is, as I've always said on this show, it changes the way we look at a truck driver. I see a truck driver being much more like a pilot. So that, you used to have, when you'd fly back in the 70s or 80s, for those that did that, you'd have a pilot, a co-pilot, and you'd have a flight engineer. So there was normally a 3-man operation up in the front of an airplane. That is not the case anymore. You have 2 people, and they only do about 10% of the flying. A lot is done on autopilot, but when you take off, when you land, and God forbid, if something ever goes wrong, that pilot, the reason there's a co-pilot is there's that second line of defense, because you need that man person in there. So again, we got to see what happens when things don't go as planned on one of these routes, which inevitably, it's not it's going to happen. It's literally math. One of the things that makes it impressive when a driver has 1 million safe miles is, statistically speaking, your safest driver's inevitably going to have something happen. So when you can go 1 million miles with no issues, that is a huge accomplishment, and that's why most companies celebrate it. With that said, we'll have to see what happens here. I'm very curious what happens when something unplanned takes place. That's when I want to see how this develops stories. I'm not worried about AI taking a lot of jobs. I'm just not. I see there's certain professions that it might be an issue, but overall, that's just part of life. We don't have any more chimney sweeps. Things change.
Right.
But with that said, I think the job changes more than anything. I don't think the driver goes away. And for the short term, there could be a scenario where this exacerbates the shortage. With that said, I've never been a believer in a driver shortage. I don't believe there's a driver shortage. I think there's seasonal shortages. But if there was a true driver shortage, dry van freight would never be below $3 a mile. It fluctuates from course to course. I think our industry has a much tougher time figuring driver turnover and making the job satisfactory for most drivers than we do with a driver shortage. Now, I appreciate the concept of a driver shortage, but if our industry cleaned up some areas more specifically, I don't know that we talk about it as much as we do.
And I think that for me is where I believe in a driver shortage. What you say is seasonal is what I think is the shortage, is the reason why we talk about it. But I don't think that it's going to take away jobs either. I think it's going to create more jobs and more opportunity if people just are open-minded, because like you said, it's going to need 2 drivers on either end. It's going to give more of a balance for the drivers. And I also believe that instead of them being called drivers, they're going to be called more operators, or a total different other title altogether. So I definitely agree with that.
The thing no one's talking about that I don't understand is most trucking companies talk about a driver shortage, but they also have a mechanic shortage. There is a shortage of ASE certified mechanics. These are going to be much more complex. These are not as simple. You now have a completely different component to all this. And in all these articles, and I get why we talk about it with the driver, when these things break, which they will, we run, not us, but a truck's lifespan will get up to 1.2, 1.4 million miles. Over that time, there's a rebuild of the engine. There's PMs that have to take place. I am wondering where we believe that the mechanics will come that will service these things. And I have yet to hear an answer from anybody on that.
Because it's not trendy.
Oh, yeah, but it will be trendy here in about 5 years.
And I think it should be trendy right now. What it is,
no one has it on their feet yet. But as soon as you actually have to have the belief that you're going to spend money on these things, then comes the next step of maintaining it. And I don't see the ASC certified mechanics that have the expertise to do it.
Yeah, because there is a huge mechanic shortage. That is the reason why the trailers and the trucks, the cab, they stay in the shop for a long time. And that's another reason why it's so important for MVTs or like type companies to either have their own mechanics or something similar so they can get in and out as fast as possible, because there is literally a shortage. And it's not like the same as you take your car to the alley mechanic. There is no alley mechanic for a Kenworth.
I admire Hirschbach taking the lead on this, and I think as we did with fuel, I think you have to take some risk and try new things. Mm-hmm. And in an industry that can often be a good old boys club where we want to do what we were doing 50 years ago and it doesn't apply anymore, I'm encouraged by it. I don't think we should shy away from the technology,
right?
But there's a lot of unanswered questions on it that when it comes time for a fleet to physically lay down money, if you think about it, a brand new truck right now, if you're a single owner operator buying a brand new truck, it's going to run you about $200,000 to $225,000. These trucks are going to be about $400,000 mostly in the early iteration, unless there's some kind of subsidy behind them. So when you put in that first $100 million order on these trucks, that's going to be a big question that has to get answered before you hand over that kind of check.
That's not happening. At least our current administration, those are not the three things that this is not part of his drill, baby drill. Okay.
Well, and it's not politically correct. It's not politically correct because in 23 states, the number one job is truck driver. So there's not a lot of political steam behind it. So it, again, doesn't mean they shouldn't do it. It means it's going to require companies that are willing to sign some big ass checks over.
Right. And that ain't happening right now. The freight not even looking good enough to be talking about. No, I don't even know what to say, but the answer is no. I do feel that it will help with fuel and things like that, because they don't have to get on the ramp, off the ramp. Nobody has to go to the bathroom. Nobody has to take a shower, things like that. And they don't have to do breaks other than fuel. Oh, yeah. What fuel?
Yeah, they still have to fuel. Most likely, I see this is why they're doing this Dallas to Houston run. Most likely, you'll see this used in a lot of relays, multiple stops along the way. But theoretically, a team can run coast to coast in 48 hours. I think the appeal of this is that it competes on the expedited side. I think this is a challenge for your expedited drivers, where you might have solos instead of expedited. But again, I think we are more than 5-10 years. I think it's closer to 10-15.
Okay. Yeah, because the more I talk this out with you, I'm seeing a lot more questions than answers. There's a lot more questions coming than answers for me personally.
Yeah, this run to Dallas to Houston, it's very controlled. They're going, weather's impacting on when they do it. It's not really doing a lot of city driving, and it's controlled from a standpoint that on the other end, there's a driver that will take it to its maintenance bay where it can be worked on by the company that actually owns it. I don't don't see this being that big of a step. Waymo right now has been doing this in Phoenix for about 3 years with driverless Ubers. They're very limited on what they can do. You're not going to get a long ride with them. You pretty much got to stick within the city limits of Phoenix. And Phoenix is not a typical city from the standpoint that it is unbelievably flat, very few weather conditions that they have to deal with outside of wind and haboobs. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think I'm not impressed by it. I am impressed by it from the standpoint that it's driverless, but I don't see the practical applications really being tested as of yet.
Yeah, I'm impressed by the possibilities down the road. That's what I'm impressed by. And I want our younger folk to get behind the different technologies and start educating themselves for the future tense, not necessarily us wholeheartedly, but like our kids.
We already see similar limitations with what they're doing on electric trucks. They, in theory, can go 500 miles on a charge. That is basically with a load of potato chips, because you need a very light load. Any type of load that's going to be about 40,000 pounds is going to be limited to anywhere between 125 to 175 miles. There's a lot of companies that go outside of 150 to 175 miles that can afford to then sit there and charge. So like I said, there's a lot of these practical functionalities that these companies still have to overcome, both on the electric trucks as well as the driverless.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad we're talking this out, because it sounds on one end 5 to 10 years, because that's what they're saying, but no, 10 to 15 or better. We might be retired.
Look, I give Tesla and Fisker and some of the electric car companies, they built the network. It was a huge investment to build the network of charging stations around the country. We don't have the infrastructure for it either. So like I said, I think if it happens within 5 years, I will give my paycheck to some charity of your choice, but I don't see it.
Kameel Gaines is the charity of my choice. Thank you. Thank you. You all heard it here first. But let's go to commercial. When we come back, let's do the hot jobs, because I know we're on limited time today. So I want to go ahead and do the hot jobs. Pretty excited about that. We'll be right back.
My name is Chavez Armstrong. I'm the yard coordinator. I've been with MVT for 7.5 months now. My position at MVT entails of me coordinate the yard, make sure the drivers are okay, and make sure everybody gets along well. My life before MVT was, I was driving trucks on a daily over the road, and now I'm working at MVT, and now I'm just yard coordinator, so I usually get to go home daily. A typical day at work for me would be making sure all the trailers are in the right spot. I do a yard check every day, making sure the yard looks clean, making sure my drivers are well taken care of, and being cool with my employees. The most challenging aspect of my role at MVT will have to be getting used to some of the older drivers that are here. Like I said, there's an age discrepancy with me and the different drivers, so sometimes I'm telling a 75-year-old dude to move his truck, and sometimes you just gotta know how to talk to them, have respect, and be lenient with them. My favorite part of the job will have to be coming to my coworkers. My coworkers, my drivers, everybody's cool with me. Like I said, everybody sees me every day. I'm cool with everybody. I know people's kids' names. So, if I could describe the culture and work environment at MVT, I would have to say exciting. Every day is kind of a different day. Sometimes every driver's over the road, so they come back and they're happy to be back. So everybody's happy in a good mood when they get back to the hood. I would have to say my biggest accomplishment at MVT would be setting up this yard. I really took pride in taking my time to set this yard to make it easy for me, because when we first got here, it was a struggle and drivers were parking everywhere, and my job was crazy and I was outside all the time. But once I got it set up and made everything perfect, now every day runs smooth, and it really seems like my job is really cake now. My motivation to get up for work every day, my why is my family and my kids. I like to get up and take care of my family. This is the way I feed my family, so it's really easy to get up, and plus my job is so welcoming. The advice I would give to employees to start at MVT is show up to work on time, be ready to work, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I would recommend people to come into MVT just because the work environment. A lot of places you go to work at, you're uncomfortable, you're unsettled, and it's not good to work in those type of environments. With MVT, you don't go through those type of things. It's very lovely here, and I would tell anybody, recommend anybody to come work here.
I really like this commercial. I mean, Chavez is so real, but okay. So one, thanks, Roger. I agree. He said it would take a week to get through Texas, or better, because Texas is bigger than a lot of countries. That is for sure. That is the God's honest truth. But when he was talking about him having to request a 75-year-old driver to move his truck, that is a testament on how MVT doesn't practice ageism. Ageism is a real thing. And before, maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I would say that and just check a box. But now that I'm really in my middle age life, I really know that. And so the fact of him being able to say that he has authority, a supervisory authority over somebody in their senior, really going into their elderly years, that's really a testament on MVT. That's the first thing I want to say. One. Two, the fact that he is doing it with respect. He knows that his employees or people that are under him are older, and he still has to maintain the yard, but he's doing it with respect. That's a huge thing for me.
It is. Chavez does a good job up there. His name in El Paso comes up often from drivers. He's well known by the drivers that go through the Hutchins yard. We have about 350, 360 individuals living in the DFW area, including myself. And so his name comes up routinely with the drivers that go through this market. It's a busy market for us. And that's not luck. I will tell you, if drivers don't like somebody, they'll tell you about it. And when they don't feel passionately about it, they don't. But I've heard his name at least 5-6 times in the past 30 days come up.
Yeah. So I just, when I saw that commercial, and then he was just really real about it. And he was like, because when I first got here, it was a mess, but he really got the yard to organize the way he wanted it. And it goes back to what you said. A lot of people that are not working as drivers used to be drivers. So they understand why certain things move like they do. Well, I don't want to run out of time, so let's get to it. You have some great divisions here for us to go over. 3 jobs. Okay.
Let's go Division 110 for teams, averaging per driver $1,600 to $1,800 a week, $3,600 to $4,200 as a team. We have Division 110. We are currently hiring out of Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Nashville, and Memphis, Tennessee. If you're out of Memphis or Nashville, you'll most likely do orientation in Nashville. If you're out of Albuquerque, El Paso, or DFW, you'll most likely do orientation out of El Paso, Texas. Weekly home time, really strong pay, really nice length of haul. This length of haul is going to average anywhere between 1,100 to 1,400 miles a week. Our teams on this are making some really good amounts of money on it. So if you're a team out of Albuquerque, El Paso, DFW, Nashville, or Memphis, be sure to tell the team at Rig on Wheels about this opportunity that you'd be interested in talking about. Let's go to Division 230, our Southwest Regional Division. Solo drivers average $1,200 to $1,400 a week, 2,500 to 2,800 miles a week. We currently have opportunities out of Phoenix, Albuquerque, San Antonio, or Laredo. If you're out of San Antonio and Laredo, you'll do orientation in Laredo. If you're out of Albuquerque or Phoenix, you'll most likely come to El Paso for your orientation. Good pay, again, weekly home time. And when you live in these markets, most everybody wants to send you into the Mountain West 11. You're not going to have a lot of mountain driving on this. We do go into California. We go into Southern Nevada on this, primarily Arizona, New Mexico, as well as Southwest Texas. So really attractive running area, especially if you live in Phoenix. You know what it is. They try to get you into the mountains constantly. So this keeps you out of that. And last but not least, let's do Division 440. Our freight is expanding rapidly on this division. Drivers averaging about $1,200 to $1,400 a week, weekly home time. Currently have openings in Memphis, Nashville, Houston, DFW, and San Antonio. Out of Houston and DFW, San Antonio, you most likely would go to Laredo for orientation, Memphis, Nashville again, and then Nashville, Tennessee. Really strong pay, weekly home time. Freight's expanding rapidly again on this division, so there's plenty of opportunities. And really, most people that do this division love the fact that the 95% of the freight that they're doing is going to be South Central and Southeast U.S., so very comfortable running area as well. Those are three of the divisions that we have. We have multiple openings at this moment in multiple markets, as well as the folks at Rig on Wheels have opportunities not just with MVT, but 40 other trucking companies. So if you did not see a region that you're looking for right now displayed, or a job that tickled your fancy, chances are something for everybody out there. If you call 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, or visit the fine folks at rigonwheels.com, they will get you set up with a career path, not just a 3-month job someplace that you're dealing with the same thing you just left, but an honest to God career path that maybe there's somebody else in the decision-making process and they have needs that need to be met. Have those conversations and let's set up a long-term career path for you rather than just another trucking job.
Yes, absolutely. And if for some reason you're not able to go to MVT right now, maybe you don't have a 6 months experience, we'll definitely put you somewhere so we can get you on a career path to get you ready for MVT. Well, let's say you have some things on your docket, your MVR is not up to par or whatever. We'll definitely still put you somewhere so we can get you on a career path to get you ready for MVT. But as well, let's say you're in a city or a state, Illinois, that MVT does not recruit in. Like Pierson said, we do have many other companies to put you with. So go directly to our website at rigonwheels.com, click on the driver tab and fill out the auto-populated application, or go to dial 281-968-3100 and give one of the recruiters a talk to, and they'll be happy to get with you. So we have come to an end today. We are having very bad weather in Texas. So we are going to be cutting the podcast short today because of that. We don't want to lose you guys or anything crazy like that. But we will be back same time next week, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So everybody be safe. Anything else you want to say, Pierson?
That is it for me. I got to get on a plane.
Okay. Be safe. Both.
Bye, everybody.
Driver and you.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.